Hello everybody, I hope you had a great week. I'm well rested after my holiday. The kids are happy and I'm looking all sharp again with a haircut, so ready to go. I'm sure you can't wait to get this main wave painted, because that is the focal point and the crux of the matter, so we won't waste too much time on that. Before we sort of start with today's painting, what I want to do is just show you just mention something to you about where we stopped last week, because that was quite important. So I'm going to go over to our canvas, and I think let's pop in the actual painting as well, so we can see both. Okay, because we had to stop. When you stop a painting, always try and stop it at a logical point where, if you do carry on, it's not going to be noticeable. So you see, we stopped at the end of the deep water, so now we've got this main wave which tends to go all the way across the painting. So it's almost a good little stopping point there, because you almost got a bit of a cut-off point, you could say. So that's why we were able to stop there. Let's say, let me define a few stop points. You could stop after the sky, you can stop after the middle water here, you can stop after your main wave, and once you've done your main wave, if you had to stop there, you see it sort of continues to this front water here. So if you did have to stop after painting that wave, then what you would do is you'd fade out this little bit of paint over here, so it doesn't stop in a hard line, it sort of stops in a shading. So you just scrub it into this the neat canvas, and then it gives you sort of a line. Maybe Dennis can zoom in on this little piece over here. That's sort of the type of, I'll dump that for you. You'd fade it out actually even more than that. You see, we've still got a little bit of a hard line over here, but you want to get this kind of a fading away, so your paint sort of just peters away without leaving that hard line over there. So if you do have to stop at a point where there's no logical stopping point, then like we had over here, then what you do is you just fade that out over there. It's just something that I thought of this morning in the shower, and I thought that's something important that I need to tell you, because it does happen. Sometimes you have to go out, or maybe your son dies on you and you have to stop. So then at least you know how to stop or where to stop. Okay, then another thing, let's go over to the palette. I didn't save my paints. I didn't put them in the fridge to keep. I bundled the kids in the car and off we went. So I've mixed up new paints this morning. So what I wanted to do is just show you how I've done that. I didn't clean my palette. I left my palette as it was, and I let that paint sort of do its own thing. So it was 90% dry before the class. So then what I did was I scooped up a little bit of each. So there's my dark mix from last week, and then my three midtones. That was our original color, which we then toned down to get our sea colors. Those guys over there. So these are the original ones from my old palette. So I've scooped up a little bit, put it down there, and obviously I still know what colors I used to get them. So then I came in and I popped them down and I mixed it over here next to that guy. So what I could do is I could compare this guy's color to that one. And then as I went to over here, I added the white, and then I could compare this tonal value with that tonal value, and that way I managed to get my exact same colors over again. Yeah, so there's my sea colors, and there's my sky colors again. So I think that's another little nice tip for you for at another stage. At some stage it's going to happen to you. So then what I can do is I can go and just rearrange my palette and make it all neat again. So now you're done with this color, you can dump him, because if you need to mix your colors again, you've got a nice pile there again. That's why I always say never throw any of your paints away until your painting is finished, because you never know when you just need 3 drops of it. And so even if that palette is dry, it's fine. you can still use that to go and mix those paints again. So let's clear that out. And we can move these guys up. So I think we'll put them down the side here. And that should free up a nice amount of space. Let's get rid of those old paints, because they're no good anymore. There we go. Now we've got a nice area that we can work with today. I don't think I'm going to bother washing it because we're working with the same colors. So I don't think it's necessary for us to wash it. That should be fine. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is the actual the mechanics of the wave. So I think that's what we'll do now. So we'll learn how a wave is formed, and then we'll go and do it on the canvas. So let's go over to here and open the first image. Okay, so what we have here is water. So there's the top surface of the water, and here's your seabed. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Dennis. Way too early in the morning for me. Okay. What happens here is, because your water's got weight and the gravity keeps pulling it down like this, right? As you go down, we've drawn this sort of in distinct layers, but there's obviously no real distinct layers. It's just to sort of drive home the point. This water at the top here, because there's nothing lying on top of it except air, for all practical purposes, this area of water over here is lighter than this area of water over here, because this water has air plus this water pushing down on it. And that's how it goes down. As you get to the bottom, your water, you could say, gets heavier and heavier and heavier, because there's a bigger body or mass of water on top of it being pulled down by gravity. So if you speak to any deep sea diver, he'll tell you the same thing. It's because of this pressure change that those guys can't just zoom up to the surface. They've got to come up slowly to give your body time to adjust to these different pressures, or to the change in pressure. Now for us, as far as painting waves is concerned, and how a wave is formed, this becomes quite important. Because what happens is, now you've got the wind that blows over the surface like this, and it creates little swells like that. So as the wind blows, it whips up this top piece of water over here, it curls up, and then because of gravity and the way water is, it wants to always lie horizontal and flat. It tries to go down back into its resting state again, and that's what happens. So you get these little ripples on the surface of the water. Now remember, this here is lighter than that. So because of this being whipped up easily, and this water below it doesn't want to get whipped up so easily, it starts forming a swell or a swirl underneath the water. Dennis is using a very fancy term. He says it's called an eddy current. So there you have it. For all the scientists out there, I think we'll just call it a swirl underneath the water for today. Yeah. Okay. So what happens now is, this swirl has got energy. So your wind has whipped up this water, so it's transferred some of the wind motion energy into motion energy here underneath the water. So this swirl gradually moves across the water, through the water underneath the surface like this, gradually heading off towards the beach. Now, as it goes along, there's obviously now more wind whipping up the top surface of the water. Plus, you've got other things like the tides because of the moon. That's also churning up the water, and you've got other things like the movement of the plates and that kind of stuff. So Dennis Malstick says he's got a CD by Eddie Current. yeah, Eddie Current makes great reggae music, doesn't he? Okay, so where the heck was I now? You put me off, Malstick. Now I've got the song in my head. Electric Avenue. Okay. Eddie Current. Okay, so what happens is this swirl gradually builds up and it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger as he's moving towards the shore. Let's get to our next slide, which is this guy over here. Now what happens is, because he was running along quite happily in the deep sea, so there was nothing bothering him. The swirl is quite happily building up. But now what happens is, when it gets to the shore, now suddenly you've got this, your seabed suddenly becomes shallower and shallower. So he's rolling along quite merrily, happily over here until he hits the seabed. Then what happens is, he hits that seabed, the swirl. Then he's got nowhere to go except up. So he goes up like this, and you see what happens? He's starting to gradually curl over like that. So you get this moving forward motion. Now we'll get to this other arrow in a second. I just want to make sure I've got the right slide here. So then at the same time you have a previous wave, which is now washed up, and he's coming down. So you've got this backwash over here. And that also helps to push this over, because he's now pushing him, that swirl is going up, and this backwash over here is helping to push that swirl up even further. So it gradually builds up to a little point like that. And that motion energy keeps pushing him forward. But now as he pushes forward, he gradually is thinning and thinning and thinning out, until gravity takes over, and like this, and gravity says, hold on, no, you're too little, you haven't got enough motion energy anymore, you can come back down, and that's when you get that lovely crashing wave. Now what happens is, as this guy is going up, and is getting thinner and thinner, why he gets thinner and thinner is because as he goes up, he's losing energy, and gravity keeps saying, no, pull back, come down to the bottom. Plus you've got that other thing called water, your surface tension of the water, which also your water droplets want to stick together. They don't want to separate. That's just the way they are. And that's why you get this thinning over here. So when he gets to this breaking point over here, where's that picky again? When it gets to this breaking point over here, it eventually gets so thin that you can actually see through it. And this here is that lovely area where, if the sun is shining from the back, you get that beautiful translucent effect in the wave. Alright, let me just quickly double check that I've said everything that I want to say. Yeah, I think that's mostly it. Yeah, in this drawing you've also got this thing of with the rocks, which also causes that extra friction or drag here on the bottom, and that also helps this top water. Remember, it's lighter, so it moves faster, and this got, because it's heavier and it's got extra drag, that also just helps for that push up effect over there. All right. Now what happens is your wave crashes, and as it crashes, because of the impurities that you've got in the water, it forms foam. It basically, you can say that water aerates. Let me see if we can quickly zip a photograph of that foam just to get a visual of it. Yeah, let's open that guy over there. He'll do the trick. So what's happened is, as this guy crashes, all those little water droplets break up into, or this massive water breaks up into droplets, and because of the impurities in the water as well, it forms a foam and it aerates. So there's your foam lying on the water like that. Now, as the next wave comes, it starts building up like this. This foam is now lying on the water over here. And as this water lifts up, this body of water, your next wave, it lifts up this foam with it, and it gradually breaks up. That foam is now a little, it's got air in it, right? So as it comes up here, some of them pop as they're being stretched out, but some of them do reach the top. And now because they're lighter, they get thrown up into the air. And now this is one of the places where I've found a lot of artists make a mistake. They feel because your wave is moving like this and it's got lots of motion, that this foam gets thrown forward. And that's not the way it works. That foam gets just thrown up in the air. And now because your wave is moving in this direction, and is quite heavy, so he's merrily moving along like this, that foam is now light. So the minute he gets thrown up into the air, you can basically say he stands still. So what actually happens is, you've got a wave breaking, and it actually looks like this foam is going backwards. It's not 100% true. That foam is just being thrown up in the air, and he stands still, and then he either pops or falls back down. So it looks like it's been thrown backwards. So be very wary of that. I'm just trying to find here, while we're chatting, I'm trying to find a photograph that that gets shown. That's not quite as nice there. I did have a lovely photo that shows the foam. I specifically took the photograph for that. So just bear with me as I find it. I've got a ton of photos, and I've now just come back from taking more photos. Yeah, there we go. Here they come now. There's one, and maybe even this one over here is better. There we go. Can you see that? It looks like that water or that foam is being thrown backwards. Okay. So the physical water drops, yes, they're being thrown forward, like you can see here in the crashing wave itself. And as they get thrown forward, they aerate because of the impurities, and that's why you get that white look. That white look is actually the individual water droplets themselves that are now reflecting the sky color back to you. And this is the fine mist spray and the foam that's being thrown backwards. Okay, now let's see if we can find another wave where we can see the actual foam itself. Yeah, we can see it a little bit over there. Let's see if we can get a better example than that one. Maybe this one here. There's a ton of. There's actually almost too much. Just bear with me 1 second, guys. There we go. Okay. So now you've got all this foam that's lying in the water over here. So here comes your next wave, and you see what happens? It pulls those foam droplets or foam bubbles up with it. Now, what happens with this foam is, I'm sure you've all done the dishes at some stage, hopefully. Those foam droplets stick together, but now because of the movement of the water, they're getting pulled like this, and as they're getting pulled, they sort of break up into little pieces. So that's why you'll see you've got little areas that are whiter, and little areas where you can see the water. So that's sort of where those water droplets have now pulled apart. And you can see it quite nicely over here. And that gives you sort of little irregular, I would almost say circles or ovals. If you're looking at it from overhead, this little piece over here would probably be more circular. But now because you're looking at it from a side, it looks like an oval, just the way the perspective works. So what happens is, as it pulls up over here, when you're doing this foam, you'll have more ovals like this, and then as you come up, you'll start making them a bit more rounded, a bit more circular, like you can see over there. You see, as he starts facing more towards you, he starts looking a little bit more circular, until he gets to over here, and then he crashes over again. So that would be our secret there to painting these foam effectively. Alrighty, I want to just close all this because otherwise it slows down the computer. Okay, then there's one last slide I'm going to show after this, and that is how the sun acts on that wave. And it works like this. As this wave curls over, now depending on the direction of the sun, this wave will throw a shadow on itself. So here you can see it shown quite nicely. Our sun is coming from the top right, and as he curls over, this guy throws a shadow on himself over here. Now the best way of checking that for yourself is to do this. Hold your hand straight like this, and as he curls over, you'll see your hand starts throwing a shadow on itself over here. So that's the same. I've got now tons of light, so I don't really have good the good shadow. I can't really show you the shadow that well. I'll try. Okay, let's see what happens. It's showing a little bit of a shadow. You see, look at this part of my hand. As it curls over, see how it becomes darker? Okay, so that's exactly what's happening with the crashing wave. Now, while Dennis is zoomed in on my hand, I want to show you another thing that I do when I'm painting waves. You see your hand over here is thicker than over there. So the way I remember where your wave is going to shine through is curl your hand like this. Now you see it's thick over here. It's gone thinner over there. Now if you're looking to get that looking through effect, you have to look at it from that angle, right? So here I've got thick. It's thinner over there, so there it's going to start shining through. This water here is also thinner. It's actually even thinner than there. But now look what's happening. Because you're looking at it from this direction, like that, you're actually looking through so much of the water. So this here becomes dark again for all practical purposes. This becomes dark because it's thick from where you're viewing. This here is the thinnest point from where you're viewing, and then here's thicker again, and it becomes a mass of water down the bottom. So that's sort of just a little trick that I've always used and taught to help you learn or remember where would that wave shine through. Because I've seen way too often where the guys actually try and make that looking through effect, and they make it here by your mass of water at the bottom. Then it looks like there's a light shining up from underneath the water. It looks absolutely bizarre, but I've seen it so many times. It's crazy. And that's simply because the guys don't understand how the mechanics work. When and why would you get that shining through effect? Alrighty, so that's enough chatter from me. Let's get some painting done. So let's quickly have a last look at our photograph and just get a feel for what we need to do now. Okay, then one last thing before we can start painting, because otherwise I forget about it. And that is, remember you've got, where we sort of chatted about it last week, where depending on the angle that you're looking at that water, it's either going to reflect because you're seeing that water at an angle, or you're going to see through the water and see the actual watercolor. Now when you get to the wave itself, then it becomes really important. So what I want you to do is just take a note of, first of all, the actual reflections and the watercolor itself. You see, as it's curling up, this water is now pointing more towards you, and you're seeing the watercolor. Here, as it's flattening out, you're starting to see the reflections more, because you're looking at it, the water more flat on. So that's where we said last week that you get in the little, you can almost say in the valley, you get the sky color that's reflecting, and as the swell or the wave curls up, then you're looking at it more flat on and you're seeing more watercolor. So just always remember that, because that's going to be really important now when we paint the wave. Now you're going to use that effect to give you that illusion of the curling of the wave. So take a look here on the left hand side. You notice it's a lot flatter over here. It's slightly curved, but it's a lot flatter than, say, over here. You see how much faster it's curling over here? So you're going to use these different tonal values on these different colors to show you that curl of the wave. So it's going to be quite important when you paint to get these directions correct. If you don't get them correct, you're not going to get that nice curling over effect. Now, here we're lucky we don't have too much foam lying over here. It's quite smooth, so the water must be reasonably clean, right? Because we haven't got that much foam. That's the conclusion we make, because we know the foam is churned up because of the impurities in the water. So we know this water is quite clean. You'll be quite happy to swim there. Now, because and it's a reasonably calm day, so this little piece of water here is quite calm. So look what happens, it starts actually reflecting. So this piece of the wave over there is reflecting over here. Here you can see it really clearly. Look at all this spray and turned up water over here. It's all reflecting in this area over here. There you can see it quite nicely there, right? So always look out for those little reflections that if you get that opportunity to get these little reflections in the water, even all the way down this wave over here, you've got that water, this wave color reflecting in over there. If you got that opportunity to put those reflections in, do, because that adds a ton of extra light, because it's light that reflects. So if you can do that, that's adding a ton of extra light into your painting. Alright, the way a wave builds up, let's just go back to here. Think of a wave that swirls underneath the water. Think of it almost as though you've got a rolling pin. So it's thick in the center, and then you've got the little handles on the side. So it's just one solid. So you've taken maybe a piece of clay and you've rolled it into a tube, and then you've rolled the sides again. So it goes thicker here in the center, and then it goes thinner towards the sides. And that's the way that swell looks underneath the water. So now it comes along, and as it hits your beach, so here comes your swell, as it hits the beach, it swirls up. So when you're looking at that whole wave, you're standing on the beach and you're looking out and you can see the full length of the wave, you'll find what it does is it sort of builds up here in the center, and then it tapers off to the side, and then it'll break here in the center, and it'll break out to the side. So sometimes what happens is you've got your beach that's at this, let's see how I can show it better. You've got your beach at this angle, like, actually I'm going to go over to this camera over here. So let's say, for example, this line over here is our actual shoreline. So ignore all our painting stuff. This here is our shoreline. So our beach is over here, and it's running like this. But now our wave is coming along at this angle. So you see, it's not coming in parallel to the shore. It's coming in like this. So what's going to happen? It's come over here, and this guy hits that that area of the shoreline where it suddenly becomes shallow, right? So as it hits here, this piece is going to start breaking over, and as he moves along, this guy is going to start breaking over. This guy breaks over, there he breaks, and there he breaks, and that's when you get that rolling along effect of the wave. So when he comes along parallel, he's going to sort of break in one go. So you're going to have a big wave over here and little crashes out to the side. So you'll start running from the center outwards like that. When your swell comes in at an angle to the beach, then he's going to run along the beach like that. So that's how you know at what angle your wave or your swell is coming in at, and at what angle your actual shoreline is becoming shallower at. Okay, so let's start painting. So let's do that, and I think let's put our picture and our palette and stuff at the top there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off just by first creating this basic shape of the wave. What I'm trying to do first of all is I want to get that curve of the wave correct, and once I've got a feel for that, then I can make him crash over, because it's just sort of a natural movement from here up, around and over. One thing that's really important when you do this though is these little areas here where you've got this white, these crashing pieces over here like this, these foamy pieces. Don't get that now full of sea color and sky color and stuff. Otherwise, when you try and put your foam over it, it's going to mix really quickly with your other colors, and you're not going to get that nice bright white effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a plain old, you can use a full bit or a flat bristle brush. So I'm going to use just a regular old flat bristle brush like that. So no fancy special brushes today, not at the moment anyway. Okay, so on the palette, so remember there's all my sea colors. Here's my sky colors running down here. So if I take from here, you'll know I'm using sky, and if I take from there, you'll know I'm using sea colors. So I'm going to start off with the sea colors. I think I'll start with a sort of a mid-tone color in the beginning. This paint is just a little bit thick, so it's working a bit of medium into that. You don't want your paint too thick, otherwise what happens is it battles to flow, and we've got to paint a nice flowing effect now. You don't want your paint as thin as water, but it must be a nice creamy consistency. Now I'm going to paint my colors roughly where I see them. So I always start here at the bottom of the wave, by the deep water. So I know these guys here are going to lie reasonably horizontal, like this. And now you see how random I'm working? Because what I'm trying to do is sort of create areas of sea color. So we want to get that ripple effect where the water is doing this. So these here are the little areas that are pointing towards you. So lay it up to over there. And then we'll clean the brush on the kitchen towel. And then we'll start using some sky color. So again, I'll pick up some sky color. Just keep working a little bit of medium into that to make sure it's a nice creamy consistency. I actually did work in medium before class, but being so cold here today, it wasn't enough. So now in between those areas, I'm going to put in some sky color. And you would do the same thing if you've got foam. We will add foam on afterwards, but you can also add some foam color as well. So your foam color is basically your, I like to take some white and just add a bit of sun color to it. Okay, so as we get to here, I'm going to slowly start giving myself a feel for that curve. So I'll often even just take, just maybe move the camera just a touch down. Oh, there we go. That's perfect, thank you. I'll often just take one and I'll gradually just give myself a feel for where I want this wave to curve and break. So I'm gradually curving him higher and higher like that. So I know when I get to over here, I'm going to get the curling over effect over there. And that makes it easy. Just these few little lines over here makes it easier for me to tie this guy in. So now I'll just alternate between the watercolor and the sky color to get that movement there. Here in this area here, we're going to make the the wave break, but I also want to use a little bit of my artist license and make this area over here shine through. So there I'll gradually make this watercolor lighter and lighter. Yeah, in front of this little rolling wave. Now I can start just plotting out that wave itself. So this little area over here. So I'm just going to start plotting out roughly where I want him. And I'm going to make a small change to this guy. Let's zoom in over here. Here where this wave curls over, it curls over too straight for my liking. I want to get that real rolling over effect. So I'm going to use my artist license and curve that guy over just a little bit more over there, just to help me show that rounding on for the painting. So that rounding I'm going to sort of just blot it out, something like that, and then this water here will crash like this, and then here in front of it he's going to throw himself a little shadow. So I'll add a little bit of darker water in this area over here. So not too much, because we've still got some reflections to put in there as well. So there we've got that. As he curls up over, here, it's nice and starts off nice and dark, this body of water. But as he goes up, he's going to get lighter and lighter. Gloria says she also didn't like that straight, liney piece there on the wave. Yeah, it's quite bizarre. It bothered me. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm actually using the darker water value as well, just to get in a few extra darks in here, and that just adds that extra depth. Remember, at the moment we've only used 2 colors, so that third color is our 3 colors for 3D. I don't want to put too much of it in because I know this flat piece over here is going to be lighter because you've got the sky color reflecting in it. This guy is still building up, so he's not quite so light yet. So we'll add quite a bit of the dark. So at this stage I'm actually using my mid-tone watercolor. But as we get to here, this water is now gradually thinning out. So what I'm going to do is, let's go over to here, is I'm going to start taking some of my sea color and I'm going to start making it shine through. So the way to do it is, let's grab some white. Now I'll just need to clean a little area because now I'm working with, I need a bright color there. So I'll just take some kitchen towel like this, and let's just clean a little corner here. And I'm going to mix up some sun color. So I'll take some white and just the tiniest little speck of yellow into it. Remember this, we've made our sky actually pink. So it says it's nearly sunset, so we can't go too hectic with the colors yet. It's not quite late enough. So now I'm going to take that and I'm going to add it to my sea color. You can actually just do that as well if you want to, because remember this guy's already got white in him. So if you do want to do that, that's fine. You're still going to have to mix that later for your foam reflections and stuff. So all I'm doing is I'm just warming up these colors here with some extra light color or sun color. I don't need too much. And these colors here are going to give us that lovely looking through the wave effect, that transparent piece. Yeah, I'm quite happy with those colors. We'll see how they look on the canvas when we put them down. Maybe we can add a little bit more yellow. There's not quite enough difference there for me yet between that guy and that guy. Which means if there isn't enough difference when I paint it on, you're not going to see them. They're just going to look the same. Yeah, that's better. That's better. So now we've got a definite difference there now, hey? Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a new brush because I don't want to contaminate that nice bright color of mine. So I'll just use any old smaller brush and I'm going to pick up the brightest one and I'm going to stop at that top edge of the wave, which is around here, and I'm going to start putting him in. Now when you get to this top piece over here, remember your water sort of gushes like this. So don't put it in perfectly straight, give it a few little wiggles and squiggles. Okay. And as he gets, now here is at his highest, and as he goes along here, it's going flatter and flatter and flatter. so it'll be less and less see-through as we go along over here. This color will disappear quickly, so I'm actually going to take him a little bit further than what I need him. I think that should be about enough. Now I'll go over to the second color that I mixed, so a little less transparent, and I'll put him down next to that guy over there. So in other words, we're basically doing a little shading here first. Until eventually he ends up at the top, like that, and that gives you just that little bit of a thinning effect over here at the top of this wave as he's building. Now, while I've got this color on the brush, I may as well just quickly blend them in. So I'm just cleaning the worst off the brush just on the kitchen towel like this. So I'm not going to wash it. Just get the worst off. And now it's a basic blending, guys, nothing fancy. Blend them in to get rid of the line. So I'm not pressing very hard on the canvas. Now I'll go back to my sea color again. Bring him up to here. So now I'm basically showing that the water is getting deeper and deeper. In the case of a wave, it's actually thicker and thicker. At this point, we can actually almost start to visualize that wave, eh? Let's just fill in this area over here to get rid of that white of the canvas. Now, once I've done that shading and I'm happy with it, then what's going to happen is I'm going to start taking some of this dark. Because now I need to get that curling over effect, like we can see over here. These lighter and darker shades. So we've got that basic thinning and thickening effect going up and down here. Now we want to get the curve to show those lines. So now just with the paint that's already there, I'm going to come up and I'm going to carefully work in these curves to give me that feel for where it is. Because you see what happens? Now you're dragging some of the dark color into the light. You see there? And that gives you that feeling of the foam and stuff. Because as he gets lighter, that foam that's there will now look darker. Okay, and now we can go back to, say, some sky color. I think I'm actually even going to go back to my bigger brush now. Now we can start adding some sky color in here as well. So I'm not going to go all the way up into that light one again. I'm done there now. For now. Okay, I think I've got enough movement over here just to that'll get us started. Add a few more little distinct curls and things over here. Very gentle. Almost using a bit of a flicking motion. And just up into the start of that curl. Like that. Okay, now we're going to go over to start putting the actual sort of the foam and the real curling over effect. So now I'm going to use my rigger brush. So let's just cover him quickly. So now I'll use my rigger brush and I'll start off, say, with a dark color. Now I'm going to add enough medium to it. It must be quite thin. Just remember, the minute you're working with a rigger brush, those bristles are so flimsy and long that you're not going to get, you can't paint with thick paint. So I'm going to thin him down. And now as I go up this wave, I'm going to shake a little bit to squiggle, because now I want to start getting that little bit of a feel for the foam and stuff. That breaking up effect. What's really important now when you do this is be super careful not to create soldiers in a row. You can almost think in the same terms as you would with marble. You're doing marble and this kind of a thing. You've got those funny veins running in it. It's the same type of effect over here. So sometimes these guys will connect and sometimes they'll break up into little spindly pieces. Sometimes I'll hold the brush flat like this, and again I'll just keep squiggling, because that little shake that you give it gives you the movement. Now if you're not too sure about whether you're getting soldiers in a row and stuff, stand back, then you'll be able to see. Let's add a few little lines over there. Now the darkest part of the wave is always right here in front of it, so don't be shy with the darks right in front here. Like that. Okay, now we're going to take this sky color of ours, again just add enough medium, and again with a rigger brush. Now we're going to do a similar thing to what we did last week to create that wave at the back. So we use our sky color like that. Actually, sorry, no guys. I'm first going to have a bit of a, remember your foam throws a shadow on himself as well, so I'm actually going to use some of this lighter sky color. We'll use him first, otherwise we give ourselves no place to add lovely sparkly highlights. So I'll use that, thinning him down pretty much to consistency of an ink. And now we're going to start doing this top edge. So again, same as what we did last week over here, you can roll the brush in your fingers, and that helps you lose control, and you can do a little bit of shaking as well. And you'll find that also that your wave doesn't necessarily have this all the way along, so you can have little places where there's nothing as well. I'm not going to worry too much along that edge over there, because we still need to make that wave break. All I'm really concerned about at this point is those guys over here. So some places I'm actually going to fill him up, and other places I'll leave him thin, other places I'll leave him with nothing. Now to get that breaking over effect, just hold the brush and just drag it in the direction that you want it to break over. Like this. Just use the tip. Maybe that guy breaks over there like that. This guy here is breaking. So I'm holding the brush flat, but I'm still just using the tip. All that helps me sort of lose control of the brush. At places I'm also even going to use the darker sky color. Because you've got highlights and shadows inside this body of foam here. As you've got those bubbles, especially at the bottom area, those bubbles have got height. So as he curls over, he's throwing a shadow on the guy underneath him. There's a little bit of bubbling going on over there, like that. I'm going to leave that guy there because you see what's happened. You've got this little bit of a, it's slightly curling over, and he's throwing a little bit of a shadow on himself over there. Okay, so we're actually going to add more of those shadows in now. Remember we showed with the, when I was showing you with the hand, as he curls over, he throws a shadow on himself. So I'm picking up some of my dark sea color now. Just here in the places where I want him to be curling over, I'm going to work in some of this underneath there. And that's going to help to lift this guy up. So I'll work him in against here, and I'm just using like a tapping motion, like that. And then with that same tapping motion, I'll gently just blend him away. Can you see how he's lifting up? So that's a basic shading. I'm just darkening these guys up a little bit. I feel I haven't got quite enough contrast to give me the highlights on it yet. So now I'll use my sky color. Add some nice sparkly highlights on there. Again, just almost in a jabbing motion. In the direction that you feel that water is splashing or has been thrown. So your sun comes from the top, so you'll obviously add more here at the top. This. And less as you come down, so that you leave some of that shadow color, more shadow color at the bottom, and that helps you give that body to this. It gives it volume. It doesn't make it just look flat. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up quite a bit of this sun color of mine, and I'm going to run some of this in these little areas over here at the top, like that. Clean your brush if you need to. I see some. The tonal values aren't showing up quite as nicely on the video, unfortunately. You'll definitely see it in the photos in the PDF. And if this brush starts getting now too dirty, because it's now obviously mixing with that shadow color underneath, then stop, wash your brush, and then pick up some new clean sky color again and continue. Like that. Okay. Now comes the cool part. Because now we've got to get that breaking effect. So what happens is, as this guy breaks over, you get that little thicker area again. So now I'm going to go back to my mid-tone watercolor. Don't think the darkest would always work. The mid-tone is better. And you can even use this guy over here if you wanted to. One of them. So to get this breaking over effect over here, now I've got to go in this direction. So here you'll break over quite a bit. I'll maybe add less foam in this area than on the other one. Then on the photo. And here he's still busy building up. So you have less and less and less as we go along over here and more foam. So I'm going to leave that over there, give myself a nice little, just quick flicks. Really quick flicks. And I'll use the highlight one, the one that we used for the transparent effect. And add a few flicks of these in here in between as well. You want to get that stripiness in here to show you the curling over. Yeah, I think that's fine like that. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the rigger brush. Now I'm just going to use, say, a mid-tone sky color. Because remember, there's no foam up here, it's being thrown up. So now I'm going to just drag some of this into there as well. So the whole idea with these lines is to show us that movement, that crashing effect. But now you'll notice sometimes these lines they aren't always hard lines. Sometimes they're quite subtle. It's just little, when you stand back, they become tonal variations. And that's fine. That's fine. Okay, now that I've done that, I can see there's a little bit of canvas that's open there, so I'm just filling him in there quickly. Now I think you'll agree with me, now that I've got this curl over here, opposite to that guy, you get a better crashing effect than before. Okay, so now we've got to do all that foam. So we've done a little bit of foam. Let's get Dennis to zoom out there a little bit. Go a bit wider for me, please. Okay, so now we've put in the sort of the main body of the foam over there. Now we want to get that impression of individual drops of foam or foam bubbles. So what I'm going to use is an old full bit brush, my soft full bit. Now you can see this guy over here, it doesn't look like he should anymore. He's supposed to look nice and flat like that, but you see what's happened is, because the hairs are so soft, they don't last very long, these brushes. So now the hairs are flared, and I'm going to use that guy. He's my secret weapon for painting sea. So I'm going to pick up some paint. Maybe Dennis can just stay at that zoom for a second. So now I'm going to pick up some paint like this. Yeah, totally the wrong color. Gee. I just looked to see which was the biggest pile of paint. We've got to use our sky color, right? So I'm going to use the dark sky color. And as I pick it up, I'm slamming it down like this. Like that. Tapping it in the paint. Because what I'm trying to do is I want to get those hairs to really spread and become individual. Now if you haven't got an old full bit like I've got, then just take one of your regular bristle brushes, one with nice long hairs, one you not too shy or worried about. Luckily these brushes are cheap. So what you do is just hold it like this and give him a good panel beat on the table. And then this guy becomes your sea brush. So you see what happens? Those hairs stand, they also flare out, and you're going to get the same effect. Okay, so just stay there. So now I've got my old full bit, and he's loaded up with paint like this. And now I'm going to paint myself some foam. Okay, so I'll start over here. So I've started with the shadow color, so I'll start at the bottom. Now don't be shy with the paint, you've got to load it quite full with the paint. And I'm tapping it straight down. I'm actually even, just to make sure I don't get patterns, I'm turning this brush in my hand at the same time. Go over that waterline, because I want to now lose that waterline. Because this foam is now obviously crashing over that body of water that's there. In other words, we're putting down tons of little dots, and we're going to do a shading with these dots. So you see what I've done is I've put lots over here and less as I've gone up, so it becomes a little bit of a, almost like a bit of a shading. So I'm going to clean the brush again, get rid of all that excess paint, and I'll go over to the lighter one, the mid-tone one. This guy over here, and I'll load him up. Remember, the more paint you've got in the brush, the softer you can tap. The softer you tap, the better effect you get. Now it's really important that you don't overwork an area. In other words, you don't have to fill up all the canvas with this tapping. Otherwise you may as well just have painted it. As we come along with the next colors, it will gradually fill up until eventually there's almost nothing. Now I'm going to go even lighter again. So now I'm going to go with the lightest sky color. This. Now when I get to here, I don't want to stop it in a solid line, so I'll stop it a little random. So in other words, I'll go maybe a little up, and then I'll make it come a little lower down, and so on. You must be panicking at this stage because he's looking a little purpley, yeah. Remember, that's our sky color. So now we're going to add the sparkly bits. So now we're going to use sun color. I think I'll just have to mix up a touch more of my sky color and my sun color. Running out. So now you're going to take this and lots more here at the top and less as we go down. Now fill up areas. You wanted sort of fuller in some areas and less in other areas, and that gives you this kind of effect. Take a look over here. You see here fuller, and there we've got less taps. It gives you those little shadowy areas, and that's how you get this movement, or that to show you that it's not one solid wall, it's got humps and bumps in there. It takes a while, you have to be patient, but the result is worth it. And I'm tapping really gently. No pressure involved. And again, if you feel that your brush is starting to get too dull, in other words, it's mixing with too much with the paint underneath, so you're not getting that nice bright sunny effect anymore, then just clean your clean your brush on the kitchen towel, and then you can carry on again. Here, this is just one big mess, so I'm just making it crash over here. Tony is asking if I'm using oil paint. Yes, I'm using oil paint today. Okay, now when you get to the top, what you want is you've got that foam that's now being shot up into the air. So what you're going to do is make it shoot a little bit backwards. So just zoom in here for me, please. Okay, so you're going to flick it very gently backwards. Not everywhere, just at places. You see that? You get that lovely, there's absolutely no pressure involved. Just let that paint that's there do its thing. Yeah, on this little edge I've got to be careful because I don't want to lose that little gushing over piece over there. So I'm going to put some over here, and here would probably have a bit more jumping off the top because here's your real crashing movement over there. So maybe some of it has even been flung up reasonably high in this area here. Like that. Now because it's going backwards, look at all that lovely movement you've got. Okay, so I'll add a few more little splashy pieces over here, going backwards, like that, and a few little dabs and dashes on these guys, just to give you that foam effect there by them, not too much. And here and there, just a little bit of frost being thrown up. Okay, so I think our wave is coming along okay. So I'm just giving my brush a quick little wash here. It's done with him. So let's start working on this front piece. That was the hardest work and the part that's of the wave that takes the longest. And it makes sense because don't forget it is our focal point. So now we can go back to a nice big brush again. So I'm going to use my big full bit. So just to get rid of that light sea color, that transparent sea color that I had on there. Give him a wash as well. Now we'll go back to our dark sea color. And now we start filling up this whole big area over here. Same way as what we started. Here we've got this other little rolling wave, so right in front of him, because he's got height, he's going to throw a little shadow there on himself, so I'm going to make sure that area there is dark. And here I'm also going to just work in a few little of these extra dark guys as well, just to add some extra height. Not all the way around, just here and there. Just taps. You've got to be careful, it mustn't go all the way across. Otherwise it looks like it's been outlined. And you lose those different heights and things. bit of water rushing here like this. In this area I've got quite a bit of reflections, so I'm gonna not overdo it there with the dark water. Let's go over to that for a minute so you can see what's going on there. So yeah, we've also got quite a bit of foam, so I'll add a few darker guys. What you can do if you don't want to go over your rocks is just mask them off. Use a little bit of the clear cover. I think I'll get Dennis to get me some clear cover as well. Then we know things will go quick. Okay, so for those of you that don't know the clear cover, it's like a transparent little sticker. You buy it in a roll at your stationery store. The kids use it to cover their books and stuff with. And I use it for masks. It works like a bomb. Because it's see-through, you can stick it almost anywhere. Let's see about that height. The whole roll is unrolling here on the floor. Okay, so I'm going to just peel off this guy, and then I'll stick him on. So I'll peel him off, stick him down, and now you just use your knife to cut out the shape. So a nice sharp craft knife. Now if you are using a box canvas, just be careful that you don't cut through it. So with my mask, what I'm actually doing is I am going slightly inside the rocks, ever so slightly. So I'd rather paint slightly over the rocks and then come back over with the rock color. I can easily do that, but it's going to be difficult for me later on if I had to come back over with try and squeeze in sea color in between. So just a millimeter or two, so 2 or 3 hairs worth of space, so not a ton of space there. Otherwise that would be kind of pointless sticking the thing closed, eh? If you're using a panel canvas like I am, you can actually press reasonably hard. So if you do cut slightly into the canvas, it's not that serious, because you're going to be painting straight over it and sealing it up again. Okay, so now let's hope we've cut all the way through. There we go. Nice quick way to create a mask. Now I don't have to worry about my rocks anymore. So now it's easy to get this water going in between and behind the rocks. So that goes there. Always make sure you got stuff that's coming in and out of the painting. That's really important. Otherwise you box your whole painting in. Okay, so let's use some sky color. So can you see I've left those little areas open, and then I gradually fill it up, and that way I know I'm always going to get a nice movement in the water. Tiny's asking if you can use masking fluid that they use in watercolor to mask off areas, and the answer is a definite no, guys. Your masking fluid is quite simply, it's too thin, you're going to paint over it, you're not even going to know where your masking fluid was. Alright, now what I want to do is just slowly start working in some of the foam and the reflections. So I'm going to take some of these colors over here, and I'm going to pick up some of that color and just start working in some of them in the correct areas. So same as what you were doing with everything else. I'm just working in the correct color at the correct place. Here as well. Again, you'll see I haven't bothered washing the brush. I've just cleaned it on the kitchen roll, because all these colors are working themselves into each other. They're all picking up and reflecting off each other because of all that movement in the water. So they won't really be pure colors. Malstick is asking if we're going to be painting wet sea sand. Yes, in a next painting. Not today, not in this guy, unfortunately. So I'm just using my photo as a guide, as a reference, just to give me a feel for where these little reflections appear in the water. So then I'm just popping them in the correct places. There's an odd little darker shadow in between as well. That's also reflecting. Then we're working here like this. Alright, so I'm just filling up the canvas now. Making sure I'm getting nice little contrasts and things. And giving us nice little movements. We are heading towards time, so I'm working a little fast at this stage. So if you're painting along and you're battling to keep up, then don't stress. Then it's just sit back and relax and work from the replay. Okay, let's just zoom out again. Let's just get a little bit of get an overall view there. Okay, so now we can start adding some foam on the water. So it's back to the rigger brush again. You can also use a full bit, a soft full bit. It also works quite well for that. So now you can use sky color, lightest sky color, and you can use your sun color as well. I prefer to use my sky colors. So now we're going to just almost in a bit of a zigzaggy kind of a motion like this. Again, shake. So you can have little areas where there's lots and little areas where there's a little. So I'm going to try and get as much of an area as I can filled. If I see we are running out of time, then we may not finish this foam, because it does take a while. So think of those little ovals that we chatted about earlier when you're doing this. And we've got some coming up here as well. So again, I've thinned my paint down as thin consistency of an ink. So you get that foam that's coming up here and it's just breaking up as it goes along. So sometimes I'm using the tip of the brush and sometimes I'm holding it a little bit flatter against the canvas, just to help me get that nice random effect. And maybe here's a lot. You see I'm squiggling the brush? Because like I say, I'm working fast now. I'm just trying to see how far we can get in the time. I don't want us to go too far over time. Right, over here we've got that rolling wave. So let's just make sure we've got that nice little shadow in front of him again. Work him out over there. And we're going to do that rolling wave exactly the same as what we did that distant wave last week. So you're going to just above that, slightly over that little dark shadowy area that you did over there. Hold your lots of paint on the rigger brush, load it the full length like this. Start and then give it a good nice squiggles like this. Good old shake. And once you've got that shake, then you can start filling up. Just little areas like that. I'll make him just sort of peter off over there. And now to get that effect that is rolling on top of this, or is rolling sort of on top of the water, then what you're going to do is, I'm going to take a nice soft clean brush now and just smooth out this top piece in the direction so it's sort of curl and smooth so that you don't have a hard line on top. So sometimes you have to do it once or twice because it's now obviously mixing with the paint that's already there. You want to make sure that you just lose that top of that line over there. That. Okay, let's come back in with a brush again. Bring this back in there, and you can add a few little lines as well, just to indicate that height. Because don't forget, he's also rolling along and he's bubbling and fizzing as well. But as he goes out, all those little bubbles quickly just disappear on you. They quickly burst, or either that or they join up again. And here it becomes a mess of bubbles again. So can you see how that height is starting to form there? Let's maybe use a little bit of the sky color over here. Maybe we've got some sky color that's reflecting in here. Some nice, lovely, bright guys over there. at this point you want to keep this paint of yours really nice and thin, because you want it to just sort of flow onto the canvas. Alrighty, so now I'm just going to carry on, more of the same. Just keep building up areas of foam on the water. As I come closer, bigger, broader areas, more defined little ovals. Here you can actually start making definite little ovals and things. There's some more on this side over here. I think for now we're nearly done. Nearly done. Let me just stand back and just see what it looks like. Alrighty, I think I'm happy with that. So what we're going to do now is let's take off this over here. Now we have done rocks a few times in the classes before, so I'm not going to do too many of them. I'm just going to do enough to show you. And I think what we'll do today, just for what the heck, let's do it with a brush. We've been doing the rocks with the knife the last few times, eh? So I'll take some raw umber and let's maybe use you know what, I'm going to just use some white in it, and let's get some real grey rocks. You can even use some of your sky color into that. So we've already got the darkest color there, so now we'll use the lightest color, or the light, like a mid-tone color. Let's see, let's use this guy. And now what you got to do is look at your different angles. See how the light is catching that. So here we've got a mid-tone color coming down there, and there's a mid-tone color coming down here. You'll remember from when we did the rocks, we chatted about the planes. You've got to get these planes correct. So that's what you're painting now, is you're painting these planes. And I'm working it quite rough. So it's actually quite good to do these rocks with in a hurry. So there they fade in, so I'm just going to use a tapping motion to get that to fade in, maybe over there as well. I'll fade him away there. This is one of the front guys. He's quite rough, so remember to paint in the directions. And now remember we left those little lines? Now's the time to paint over them. A few little dabs and dashes over there like that. And let's do this guy over here. So he's a nice little smooth rock. He's lower down, so he's been well pummeled by the sea. Maybe he disappears into the water over there. So what I'll do to get that disappearing in effect, I'll mix this rock color and the sea color into each other. And that gives us that nice going under the water effect, just like that. Okay, I'm going to wash the brush because now I want a brighter color. I think maybe just for what the heck, guys, let's just finish this one over here so that we've sort of got a complete area of rock. Otherwise it's going to look odd, eh? So we'll do that. Maybe here's a few little dabs and dashes going along there. Just tap it with my finger like that. Now I'm going to take my lighter rock color, add some more white. I'm actually even going to just add some sun color to it. And you can actually add, say, a yellow ochre or an orange or something to it as well. I think I'll just add some cadmium yellow and some white to it for now. Again, pick up lots of paint and let's add some highlights onto that. Got a rough little rock, that one, eh? Just tap it with my finger and that gives you that quick little bit of a blending. Okay, so now we want to get just that little bit of water gushing in between the rocks. Okay, Rose is asking when those rocks were painted. Yes, in the previous class we did block them in just so that they could dry, and that allows me to paint these rocks then now a lot quicker. Okay, so I'm back to the rigger brush again and back to our sea colors. So I'll start off with a mid-tone sea color. I think that's about as dark as we're going to be able to go here now, because this is sort of water that's gushing around here in this area in between the rocks and things. So now I'm looking for the lower areas. I'm going to pop some watercolor in these lower areas here like this. Just like that. And just work it into your rock color so that this rock sort of gradually comes out. It gradually sticks his head out from underneath the water like that. Okay, so now our rock's already part submerged. Now let's get some nice gushing foam and stuff over it. So again, it's now back to our light sky color. Because I do see our time is up, but I'm sure you'll bear with me for a few minutes. Nearly shown you everything I want to do. So we'll get some nice foam over here as well, right up against the rock. If you do need to go, don't worry, you'll catch it on the replay. there and in front of the rock like that. And then over here, I'm going to get some nice foam here in between the rocks, like this. Yeah, maybe there's some gushing up over there, like that. Right. Now, you'll find I would, if it was a really big painting, then I'd be able to go back to that old stinky filbert of ours that was the hairs all spraying out. But now, unfortunately, this is just a small area, so I'm going to stick to the rigger brush, and I'm going to do these the splashing and stuff individually. So just the tip, lots of little taps and stuff. Give yourself some nice movement. It's splashing up over there, and maybe there's some splashing up over here. So I'm shooting him like a shotgun. Now you're going to ignore those rocks when you're doing this kind of a thing. Now, when the splashes up, what's going to happen is you've got a lot of water over here where it starts. There's a big body. And as he splashes up, so sort of gravity is pulling him back down again, same as we had with the wave. The gravity is pulling him back down again. So your splashes get less and less and less and less. And maybe here we've got a little bit of water that's sort of gushing in between that rock over there. So I'll just use my brush. Maybe some of this water is gushing down in that direction there as well. So I'll use sort of my sky color and some of my watercolor. I'll just drag them so that they sort of do a little bit of blending there on the canvas like that. So it's not one solid mass of color. Let's see, maybe there's a little bit more up over there. In an ideal world, what I'll do is I'll actually make this quite high up and make him splash up past this area over here. So that you get this overlapping, gives you that lovely movement there. Here's a few guys that are picking up some sun color, which I'm using sun color now. Give this nice sparkle over there, some over there too. Kelly says she's going to put a whale tail in her painting. Yeah, why not? Go for it. Let's see if we can straighten that guy out now. Alright guys, so can you see what I do is I think with putting the foam in, my reflections are gone a little light, so I'm going to use a little bit more of the sun color. Just I'll do a little bit of fine tuning now just to get these reflections and things right. Like I said, I was running a bit out of time and I did want to finish the painting today. otherwise it runs over another class. But can you see here all those lovely reflections in there? Beautiful crashing of the wave. And if I do that, you can get a good feel for the rocks, the crashing on the rocks. And for sure, it definitely needs a few seagulls, eh? Do you want me to quickly put one in? Everybody's asking for a seagull. Alright, we'll put in a seagull. Okay, so what you do with seagulls, they got little black tips on their wings. So I'll start off with the white. And Morena says, no, who says it? Grand Can says, I mustn't forget the crab on the rocks. Alright, so I think what I'll do is, I don't want to put it too low. You are sort of looking down at this, so we can get away with a few seagulls over here. Yeah, why not? Maybe we'll put a few there, then maybe there's a shoal of fish over here. Who knows? Okay, so birds are easy to eat. Some more paint. To eat. Give them a little bit of a body. That. Oh, I nearly washed my brush in my coffee. That would have been a disaster. Okay, so now you're going to take some black. So that's your French ultramarine and your raw umber 50-50. Give you a black. So just use your fine liner or your rigger brush. Just add a little black tip onto each wing. And that tells you it's a seagull. It's as simple as that. So now you'll add 3 or 4 of those guys in, just sort of circling around here. And now if you want to show that he's really low, then you're going to take your dark sea color. Just zoom in over there for me quickly, please. Yeah, I know, sorry. I just want to, let's say you want to show he's low, then don't forget what's going to happen is, let's clean the worst off. You can add a little bit of a shadow onto the water over there. Just a little bit of darker sea color. And that lifts him just off the water. And that gives you a sense of his height. And that adds that extra little bit of 3D realism to it. Which is pretty cool, eh? Alright, Dennis, now you can zoom out. Keeping him busy today. No, Dennis really kept me busy with the maths class. Gee whiz, was I having to run between the cameras. Let's see if we can just straighten it out. I can see he's a little bit skew and that destroys the perspective. Okay guys, I think there's enough there for you to be able to complete yours. You've got all the basic techniques. You can add a bit more foam over here. I'd ideally have a little bit more of your sky color foam. Not quite as defined as what I would have liked it, but it's because of the time. And then you'll complete your rocks as well. I'm going to go ahead and complete mine, and then then I will just add it to the video, and I'll obviously add it to the PDF as well. So if there's any last questions, now's a good time to ask me. Kelly's saying the shadow of the bird is perfect, and Tony says you would never have thought of the shadow. Yeah, you've always got to look. Remember, your shadows are the ones that show there's light in your scene. So in other words, if you don't have any shadows in your painting, you don't have any light. So like with this guy, you see in front of the wave, we've put in that little shadow that it's throwing. The bird, you put in the shadow. You've got the rocks, you got your one throwing maybe a shadow on the other one. Those kind of things. Whenever you got that opportunity to add a shadow, do it, because it's actually adding sun. You got to add the opposite of sun to show the sun. Weird, eh? Alright, will I be putting this in a frame? Yeah, you bet when he's finished he's going to go into a frame. Mary's saying, is there ever a time when you deliberately leave areas of the canvas white for highlight effect, or do you always cover the canvas? I very, very, very seldom leave white of the canvas showing. I can almost say that when we did here with the clouds last week was probably the only time when I would do that. Just when you're busy with a speckled effect, so you've got those tiny little amounts of canvas shining through where you don't notice, that then I wouldn't bother trying to cover it up because it serves no purpose and trying to complete that. But otherwise, in general, no, I'd rather wait for the painting to dry so that I can come back over it with a nice pure white. I'd rather fill it up with canvas. I find if you leave little areas of canvas shining through, and it's obvious that those pieces of canvas are shining through, it looks cheap. Don't know why. It looks unfinished. That's what Dennis is saying. And I don't know, it looks like you're stingy with your paint. You forgot the area, so I'd rather cover it up with white paint. It just looks better. Val is saying that her Viridian seems to be greener than the one she uses. Okay, or my Viridian seems to be greener, or the other way around. Yeah, it's one of those things. Different manufacturers got their own little recipe, so the one you'll get would be a bit more transparent, a bit more emeraldy. Other one will be a little bit more toned down, a little less transparent. Difficult. The main thing though is that your base undercolor of the Viridian will be pretty much the same thing. So you'll still get to roughly the same color. So now today we've used these colors here. Tomorrow I could paint that exact same painting and I'm not going to get to exactly the same color unless I specifically go and match it. So it doesn't matter. You'll still get to that base C mix that you're looking for. And from there, you're going to be adjusting it anyway. Is it grayer? Is it bluer? Is it greener? So it doesn't matter. I'm just quickly double checking to make sure everybody's happy and stuff. Yeah, I'm just seeing a bunch of thank yous and goodies here at the moment. Alright guys, yeah, that was great fun. Okay, what I want you to do is, I'm going to pop a link on the forum and just ask you guys, what are you battling with the most? And then what you do is just answer me there, and then I'm going to tally up and see what are you guys battling with the most, because I know a lot of you have been coming quite a long way with me now already. So I want to make sure there's no little hooking points, because I know after you're gone for a while, you sort of almost feel like you hit a plateau, and then you need to do something to step it up. So there's always those few little things that you're still battling with. So let me know what you guys are battling with the most, and then next week we'll have sort of almost like a bit of a Q&A type of class. Then I'll answer all those little sticking points, the things that you're battling the most with. So think carefully. What's those one or two things that you're really, really battling with? Okay. So not specific things like, I don't know how to paint, what haven't we done yet? What haven't we done yet? How to paint animals. We haven't done animals yet. So nothing like that. Things that from the classes that we've already done. Like for example, I'm battling with this technique. No matter how much I try, I just don't get it. Or I'm really battling to mix this color or that color or this, or don't quite get a grasp on a color wheel, for example. Those kind of questions. Pop them onto the forum for me. Let's answer them for you guys next week. That's going to help you just get over that little that plateau. Let's take it to the next level from here on. Okay. All right. So I think that's all for me and Dennis. You guys have a wonderful week. We'll see you on the forum.
Hey, Basket TV!